slip the clutch and the button no struck. I'm heading for the boat. Well, I never say goodbye.
Hiya, welcome back to the channel. Wow, we are back in the shagger position, and I'll try and do a quick demonstration of why. I've already shown, or already tried to show, that the clutch is slipping, but also it isn't really sort of disengaging fully either. It's quite stiff to change between gears when driving, which is a little bit monotonous actually. So I'm going to attempt to change the clutch. It's not the first time I've changed the clutch on this car. I did it a few years ago, many years ago actually, probably 8 years ago, 10 years ago or something. I changed the clutch on this car, and I remember it being very easy. It took about less than 4 hours. I'd say maybe 3.5 hours or something. But this time it's probably going to take much longer than that, because I'm making a video which makes everything take twice as long. So I will try and film it best I can and make a potentially useful video out of it, but we'll just see how we get on. As if by magic, it's jacked up without any wheels on it, as though that we're going to do some work on it. Right, what is involved in doing the clutch on this shitter? Well, there's loads of stuff to take off from above, and there's loads of stuff to take off from underneath. The worst one being, the worst thing that puts me off doing clutches, and I hate doing it, is taking drive shafts out. It's just pain in the arse really, fucking oily and dirty and shitty. But to avoid getting covered in oil as much as possible, I'm going to drop the gearbox oil out and put new in, which I've already done once before, so I'm not going to film too much of that. Well, that's 24mm, which I'm going to undo, and I don't think this spanner fits it. I think I need a thin wall socket if I remember right, but it might work. Anyway, I'm going to drain the gearbox oil out of it. Right, it does actually work with the spanner, just got to get it in the right situation. Look how clean that is, what a waste. What I am going to do is I'm going to measure that washer for when I put a new one on it, because when I did the gearbox oil on the last video, the thing I keep on getting asked is the size of them washers, and I never measured it, so I'll do it this time. And after spilling oil everywhere, I'll put this back in, but I can confirm that it's actually an 18mm washer, or mine is anyway. So I'll add that into the description. I'll add it into the other video actually. I'll put it in the pinned comment or some shit, I don't know. Right, so we've drained the oil out of it. So anyway, let's get on with the exciting part of taking this drive shafts out. As you may have noticed, there already is an issue, as in, I don't know if you can pick that up, but the gator is a bit shagged on there, and upon further inspection it appears that the ball joint is in fact also very shagged, which is probably what my knocking was that I've been ignoring for the past couple of months. Anyway, so I'm going to have to put a Wishbone on it, so I'll buy one of them off eBay. Cheapest, obviously the cheapest parts possible, no expense spared and all that, and I'll take the full Wishbone off. And this ball joint, which is a 19mm, it should have like an R-clip through it. Don't know what's happened to that. That's not there either. But we should get a new one with a new Wishbone, I would have thought. So let's take this out. Like so. And then, once I've lovingly remove it with our ball joint splitter, like so. And normally when you're removing a ball joint, you're worried about your drive shaft falling out, but I'm not worried about the drive shaft falling out, because that's why I'm removing the ball joint on this occasion. And don't forget to remove your drop link, which is a 30mm. otherwise the wishbone will be harder to push down to get it out. Sort of like common sense really. I should have removed it first, but I didn't, because I didn't really notice it, because I wasn't really paying as much attention as what I probably should have done. But once this is removed, the wishbone I might have to remove. Can't see it, can you? I'm pointing off screen. Yes, might have to remove that as well. That'll make it easier to remove that too. But between knocking the camera over and the wind blowing the camera over, it's not as easy as what it should be. Yes. Well, I was going to cut to simply do the same on the other side, but the drop link appears to have detached itself from itself. So I will have to replace that. But for now, let's take the wishbone off. Well, the ball joint out. And this side does have the arc lip. Anyway, I'm going to crack this ball joint, undo this and crack this ball joint. The same as what I've just done on that side, but with this side, before continuing with the struggle. And some people don't like these ball bag splitters because they tend to split the rubber johnny that goes off the ball joint, but fuck it. Yes. And after you've missed the end of it a couple of times with the hammer and then hit it once or twice as well, then this one's split as well. And for this side, that's pretty much where I'm going to leave that. I need to get the drive shaft out, but I need to get a bar underneath it to push the shitter out of the gearbox. On the other side, I'm going to take the drive shaft fully out of the way, because that's the way the gearbox goes to come out. So I just want it completely out of the way, to be honest with you. Right, so back round at this side, this is the drive shaft that I repaired fucking a year ago or something. But I'm going to fully take this one out, so it's not in the way. Oh, that's the plan. So yes, and then get underneath the vehicle in an attempt to remove the drive shaft. It'd be easier if I jack the car up higher, to be honest with you, because I can't get a very long bar in to struggle with it, because it's the floor. But let's try anyway. Shouldn't take that much force to take it out actually, but it is seeming to take more than what I anticipated. And as if by magic, we have a drive shaft out. And the reason it's as if by magic is because, being true to myself, instead of filming taking the drive shaft out, I filmed me moving the camera around and then didn't film me taking the drive shaft out. But to take it out, well, that'll need cleaning before it goes back in, but it's a case of getting, I use the tyre lever on this bit here and just give it like a sharp jab to get it out. This one I've taken fully out, so it's completely out of the way. That's the plan. This is pretty good as well. A nice kind of tango off one at neighbours come out and brought me. Nice German lady who lives near where I work. Really nice woman. So what you want about the Germans, but in my experience they've been the nicest people I've ever met, to be honest with you. I've known a few of them. But anyway, this side, I'm not taking the drive shaft fully out, but what I have done is I've turned the steering hard left, so this is the furthest this way, so it gives me the most room, so I can pull it this way and it keeps it as far out of the way of the gearbox as possible, if that makes sense. So now let's carry on with some gearbox removalingtons. Now we've done the most fun bit, which is taking the drive shafts out. And before I start going for the gearbox, I'm going to take this wishbone out, which is two 17 millis and some some hitting of it. Yeah. I don't know if you'll pick this up, but it's got quite a bit of movement in it. Hold on. Ah, yeah. Anyway, new one on its way. Right, it's time to proceed with some gearbox related fun now anyway. We've got this stabiliser which needs taking off, so that's a 19mm and these two are 14s. So there is, oh yeah, tripod broke, back you know. There is another 14mm there, which also needs removing. Yeah, can. Yes. And so I've brought my tripod, so the film is going to get even more wobbly than normal. But I've got I should have undone these before I took that stabiliser off, shouldn't I really? But jeez, they're fucking tight. Which did tighten them up last time? 14mm. I need to take these off to take this plate off because that's behind the flywheel, which is attached to the gearbox. So if I don't take that off, the gearbox won't come off when it comes to taking the gearbox off. So I'm going to take them out. Three. That's that taken off. And as you can see there is a lovely flywheel, part of the powerful arrangement. That is the 1KR. Right, so now what I'm going to go on to is I'm going to take off the bolts, the bell housing bolts and what have you, all the stuff that I need to get underneath the car for, because I don't want to keep them going underneath the car. So I'm going to undo this 17 here, which is there, and then I'm going to undo that 17, which goes the other way for some reason. And I'm going to undo the starter motor, which I've already had off before. And then I'll see what else I've got to do. And of course, being bell end housing bolts, it's not a surprise that they're pretty tight. And this one's mega tight too. So it's going to get Milwaukee. Two out. So now I think I've got most of the stuff off what I need to get underneath the car for. There's probably something that I've forgotten, but next I'm going to take this battery off like so, which I've not shown because I've shown that in a previous video and it's taking a battery off. It's actually not that complex. So now I need to take this battery tray off, which is also not that complex, but I'm doing it left-handed to make it more fun. So there's a 10mm there to take this fuse box off. As you can see, it's previously been taken off and then not put back on, which is not like me actually. I mean, I'm probably the last person to set this off, but I don't usually leave stuff off. So there's a little clip there, so once that bolt's out, that'll lift up. Sorry, it appears that I've just provided a little bit of misinformation. There's also a 10mm bolt there, which stops it from lifting up out of the way. So I'll take that out and try again. So that there has a little clip on it, which I ain't got a screwdriver and I'm not going getting a screwdriver, so I'll use this torch bit instead, which is completely the wrong sort of shape and size, but succeeded anyway with just skill and determination. 10mm bolts there. It looks like there should be one down there actually, but there isn't one there. So that looks like that's missing for some reason. That's enough for some shit that I fit in the past. So I'll just drag that over there and leave it out the way. But I need to take these 10mm out. And them two out. The battery tray is removable. And yes, it does appear that there should be another bolt in it there that's missing. Which gives us a little bit more access to things I'm going to take off. There is, go focus, there's a wiring loom down there which I've just pulled off the clips, as you can see. There is a plug there which you need to squeeze and pull. I'm not sure that that's probably to the reverse light switch, I would have thought. So there is that, and I also need to take that off. There's another one. So there, pull off them. They're our gear linkage cables. And then once they're off, you've got a couple of bolts, 12mm, which hold that unit onto the gearbox. And I'm using something I really don't like using unless I really have to. I'm using a universal joint on the extension, and I don't like using them because of the shit actually, but they do sometimes pull you out the shit. I'll just make things a little bit easier. So I need to take them two bolts out, like so. And on mine, the bottom one, which is one on the right here, is slightly longer. I'm not sure if that's just because it's had another bolt was lost at some point. But now it's more or less disconnected, apart from the clutch cable, which should be nice and baggy, yeah, and just unhook it. And it's part, the clutch cable also goes through that bracket that I've just undone. So now I've undone that, the thing is a bit less sort of fixed. It's also attached to that wiring loom there. There's a bracket onto that wiring loom there, which I think I'm gonna pull off. And I've just ducked that arrangement out the way a little bit. Right, so next what do I need to do? Well, there is an engine there which I'm gonna have to take off, and then when I forget to put it back on, I wonder why the car won't start. I've dangled that down there, so it's sort of in clear view. Right, now I could do with taking this engine mounting off, but before I need to do that, I need to jack the engine up. I'm just carefully supporting the engine with a 3-ton trolley jack, because I've got to take the engine mount off. I would normally say not to do this really, you know, supporting an engine with a jack, because a lot of them have alley sumps on them, but fortunately this is an old-fashioned steel sump, so it should be all right, but we'll find out, won't we? I'm going to try and move some of this shit, and I'm going to hopefully remove the engine mounting. Now these are 14mm, it's like 6 of them or something, 7 of them. Right, the first ones I'm going to remove are the ones on this side, because then if the jack doesn't have the weight of it, it'll still be held on this. Because if I remove them and the jack hasn't got the weight of it, it's just going to fall, because they're just holding the gearbox up. So I'm going to take these out, and that's 2 of them. And now I can tell there's no weight on that, so I can take them ones out. Move this turd. And now I've got a bit more room. I'll take the other bolt out off this starting motor. I'm just going to leave the starter motor sort of down there-ish. And this is going to be hard to show, but I can see like 3 bell housing bolts holding the shitter in now. And it doesn't seem enough, that. So there's probably some that I can't see, but there's one there that you can't see. So I've just got to follow my hand all the way around, take them out until gearbox falls out really. And now they are lovingly removed, the gearbox should be able to be lovingly removed. which I'm struggling to work out a way of filming that, to be honest with you. But if I go in through the starter motor roll here, I can get a screwdriver in and see if it at least moves, which it does. Try and show. Yes. So the gearbox is now coming away, and if I grab this here, you can see that it's moving quite freely. So I need to get another hand around it. I'm balanced on scuttle panel, so let's hope for the best and expect the worst. Got somewhere, and now is the time to take off this panel, which I should have taken off before I took that bit off. There's like 3 10mm. I said there's 3, there's one missing on mine, but there's 2 10mm on mine, but I need to take them out, and then I just need to bring the gearbox down to the floor level, like something like that. And then we have a gearbox out. Right, so let's have a quick look at our issues. Now this is our thrust bearing, or release bearing, or whatever you want to call it. And this is the shitter. It should also have, there's a little spring on that side, which is broken on that side. So that's not ideal either. So we need to take that off, because I should have a new one of them in the kit. And I'm going to give this a clean off with a wire brush and an air line. If we have a look at the clutch itself, we can see an obvious issue. And 12mm, so let's take them off and take the clutch off the flywheel. And there's 5 of them, which means there's one left. Now in my case, the clutch is quite badly seized onto the dowel, so I'm going to have to leave it with a screwdriver. It's just something that sometimes is required. I'll turn it round and just keep on doing this until you slip and spot your thumbnail. But we'll soldier on and remove off. Get off. Look at that. Yes. It's still sticking on a dowel. Right, I'm going to wiggle that shitter off. Right, so these are our old and new clutch kit. The old one was actually an X-Eddy, which is a decent clutch, but it's had some, it's had an hard time, to be honest with you. It's done a few miles, and it's fucked, as you can see. That is like the transmission side there, and this one doesn't seem to say which side is the transmission side, but it's obvious it goes that way. So, right, fitting this, I haven't actually got a clutch alignment tool anymore, but to be honest with you, I never really used them anyway when I used to do clutches. What I used to do usually was put the clutch on. I'm not going to be able to demonstrate this, so I'll explain it off the car. And then, once the clutch is bolted up loosely, you can either look down the centre to make sure that it's aligned, but you've got to make sure you're looking at it square. Or you can get your fingers around the sides and feel the distance between the clutch there and the clutch there, and then obviously there is closer so it's not aligned, and you can move it around like that. That's the way I've always done them. But before I do any of that, I need to clean that out. And as you can see, I've lovingly caressed that until it's clean with a wire brush, and I've done a quick job of that too, so I can put the thrust bearing in, which this is going to be hard with one hand, but I need to hold that like that, and then, hang on a minute, and then clip the springs in on both sides onto that little latch, and just line it up. Like that. So now the thrust bearing is in place. And now I'm going to try and put this in place and try and film it at the same time. So I've got, line it up with the dowels and just wiggle it on. And as you can see, I've put some of the bolts in. I've put all the bolts in actually nice and loose. And this is where I need to line the clutch up. As you can see, it moves around a little bit, so it needs to be centralised, which is what the clutch alignment tool is for, which I don't have. So I'm going to have to do it by feel, by putting my finger in it and feeling the centre, or feeling the outside of it round here, which my fingers are too fat on this one. So I'll have to do it by feel and looking straight down the end of it to about the central, but I haven't really done it properly. But that's what I'll have to do and tighten it up like that. And then when you're happy that it's central, you can tighten the bolts up. Don't tighten one side up all the way at once, do them like opposites gradually, because when you tighten it up it does move the plate over, it can do. Also, when you're nipping it up, have the handle of the ratchet facing across the centre of your flywheel, so you're not just turning the engine before you put any force on it. So now, with a bit of luck, the gearbox will go back in. With no luck, it won't be lined up. And now it's time to struggle that shitter back into that shitter. But that's what I'm not going to be able to film. Before I do that, I'll put a bit of that onto there to make it more lubricated, so it inserts into the hole nice and easy. And also, I'm going to click it into a gear, so I can twist the gearbox and twist this shaft, because all I'm going to picture in my head when I'm trying to put this in is them splines not lining up with the splines on the clutch as I'm struggling with it. So anyway, I'm going to lift that back in, so I'm going to have to put it underneath the car and then reach over and just do the reverse of what I did in putting it in. But, oh sorry, the reverse of what I did in taking it out to put it in. But like I said, no chance I'm going to be able to film that, because I'm going to need both my hands and my penis to hold it with. So I'm not going to be able to hold the phone. But I'm going to wrestle with that now. I'm talking shit because I'm putting it off. I better get on with it, Anna. Yes. So I've got that in position, and I've put a bell end housing bolt in it just to stop it falling back on the floor. What I need to do is I need to install all these bolts loosely. So I'm going to need two hands, so I need to wobble the gearbox to get it lined up. But I need to install all the bell housing bolts and everything all loosely, and then tighten them all up. Not going to film that, partly because it's not very interesting, and partly because my phone's going flat, in all honesty. Right, so as I said, I'm not really going to film everything now. I'm just going to sort of show it as it's done, like some kind of montage.
We're gonna need a montage. Ooh, it takes a montage.
Anyway, starter motor is back on. Don't really need to film it anyway because I've already done it, and obviously all of you've already watched that. I've plugged that back in. I've connected the earth back up. I have bolted all the bell housing bolts up, even the ones underneath into the starter motor. Everything on that is tight. What else have I done? I've clipped some wires back into where they come from, but this is basically all. This is just backwards of what we did to start with. There's the reverse light switch, by the way. I think someone asked me about that recently, so I just thought I'd point it out. Right, so now I need to either put the engine mounting back on, which is there, or I can connect all this back up, which I think I'll do that first. And I've done both. Look at that. So this is bolted back on with the, remember, one bolt along with the other. I'm not sure if it's meant to be like that or if it's just been bodged in the past. Engine mounting's back on. What else have I done? I've clipped that back in, so that's done. And I think that's all I've done. So anyway, now that's back in, I can let this jack out. The engine won't fall out onto the floor anymore. And now I'm going to have to go back underneath to refit that plate, because it's by magic. And I need to put this drive shaft in, which I will try and do on camera, see if I can do it with one hand. Just nice and gently. And once that's lined up like that, then I push this in with that nice big gash there, like so. So now I need to put that back on, which once again I'm just going to do that and then show you the finished result. Oh yeah, I need a new drop nut, by the way. I already sort of established that. And I need a new wishbone, which, as I mentioned earlier, so it's not going to be fully finished tonight, this. So there's the stabiliser put on. And I've also nipped up the sump, the gearbox drain plug, ready to put new oil in, which I haven't got yet. So what does that leave us with to do now that we can do? Well, I can put this drive shaft back in, and I can put that bolt back in, which holds that shitter in place. And I can tighten that ball joint up and put the R-clip back in. Closely followed by the battery tray. And I've even put that back on, look how good am I. So yeah, battery tray's in, and now let's get the battery. Yes, that and that, well, that is as far as I can go for now, because like I've said, I'm waiting for a wishbone, and I need some gearbox oil, so I shall finish this, but I said tomorrow, but in 10 seconds. And we have a drop link. So let's carefully remove that one. This is the next day, by the way. And a bit of jiggling with a 10mm spaniel, and hopefully it might come out. And because the anti-roll bar is not connected to either side, I should be able to lift that up quite easy. Yeah. Yes. And get the residues out of the way. And this is the order that it seems to go together. The old ones, that metal washer there is all worn out and fucked anyway, so it's not actually doing anything. But I think this is going to be quite tight to squeeze on. But let's try. So that goes against the anti-roll bar or against the wishbone, depending on which end you're looking at. And then that rubber goes on top of it, and then you've got the washer. So the anti-roll bar and the wishbone go in this gap here, and it's the same at both ends. That's how I'm looking at it. That's how it seems like the old one came off, and I'm going to try and put it like that now. Something like that. But I ain't both hands for that, so you're going to have to use your vivid imagination. I've got to put that rubber on in the washer, and then a nut, which won't fit without compressing that. Yes. Well, it's attached. It doesn't seem to line up as well as it should do, but it is like a TP base shitter, so it'll do. And just as I completed that, I received an exciting delivery. Didn't have an R-clip with it, so I've got a split pin to put through this in. And there we have it installed, which was the opposite of taking it off. Right, all I've got left to do now is fill the gearbox up, which I'm not going to show because I've already shown it. I haven't shown the wishbone because this might be hard to believe that I am actually an employable member of society, but I've got a job and we're quite busy and I'm fucking about with this. So I'll have to hurry up and go and help out at my job. So anyway, wishbone's back on. I've got oil to put in. I need to adjust the clutch up. and then put the wheels back on. None of that, I'm not going to show any of that because I've already shown it in previous videos, all of it actually. So I'll come back when the car is back on the ground and ready to drive. Yeah. Yes. And here we are. It's the moment of truth. Adjusted the clutch up. I've not checked where the biting point is. I've just done it by sort of feel. But it feels like it should work. So let's see what it does. Right. So I press the clutch in. Feels nice. Oh, feel that. Yes. Can you hear that? Goes in nicely. Let's see where the biting point is. That is orgasmic. That is the best this car has ever felt. So there's parking sensors giving it some because I've got a tree behind me, so stop when it hits it. The clutch is so nice and light, and it's just a thing of beauty. So that seems like it's successful anyway, but no doubt I'll find out for sure when I want motorway or something. Anyway, that is pretty much it. What was I going to mention? What I didn't mention. Oh yeah, the clutch. The clutch, there is, I've been told, upgraded clutch for these. I don't know if that's this, I just ordered it off the reg. I assumed that the upgraded clutches, I've heard about the upgraded clutches before, I just assumed that all the new clutches for them were upgraded clutches. But I didn't measure it. Something like an extra 10mm of clutch disc. I'm not sure, to be honest with you. And also, I forgot to mention when you put the clutch in to clean the pressure plate off because it'll have oil on it, which will be self-explanatory. If you're doing a clutch, you probably already know that. Anyway, I think that's all for this one, so don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.